Abban, hogy egy Welcome to the spectacular capital city of Hungary, host city to the 19th Fina World Championships. Two historic communities, Buda and Pest, the waters of the Danube, bringing them together and binding them as one. The cultural and yet dynamic city now known to the world as Budapest. Well, 5 years ago, Budapest hosted one of the most memorable sporting events of recent times, and now it's back with the 2022 Fina World Championships. And the heart of the championships is right here at the Duna Arena. This week's home to the greatest divers on the planet. You can see those trees being blown around. It's a lovely, warm, but blowy day here, a windy day in Budapest today. Luckily, though, we're inside this Duna Arena, so it doesn't affect the competitors in the diving. If we had high diving, as we had 5 years ago, down opposite this wonderful Parliament House, perhaps they would have been affected, but not inside the arena. Yes, we're set for another exciting day of World Championship diving here. It's day 15 of the 2022 titles, and that means it is the penultimate day of competition. Well, the competition has been quite superb. We're about to see the men's 10-metre platform semi-final. Yes, we've seen established stars from previous World Championships and Olympic Games strutting their stuff, and also the emergence of a whole lot of new stars as well. So we look forward to this semi-final. Ultimately, we'll get to the final of that event tomorrow. That'll be one of two finals on the last day of competition. This is what's ahead of us today. Semi-final coming your way in a few minutes from now. Then later on, we'll have the women's 3-metre springboard final, and then the victory ceremony for that particular event. And that'll leave us with two events tomorrow, and that will be that final and also the women's 3-metre synchronised event, so the men's platform and the 3-metre synchro for the women to complete the program tomorrow. Well, China, they just keep doing it, don't they? 10 events, 10 gold medals. Yes, diving perfection. Right, we're about to meet the competitors here. Semi-final time. So a field of 18 as we get down to the last 12. Yes, first of all, Isaac Souza Filho, the 23-year-old from Brazil, qualifying in 18th place. Finished with a really good dive this morning. Timo Bartel, the German, he's been really busy here at the World Championships, and he's made it through to another semi-final. Here's Andres Larson, the Italian, the 23-year-old. Qualifying in 16th position. We had 39 starters going through the preliminary round, and that completed just a matter of 3 hours ago. Carlos Ramos Rodriguez from Cuba. In fact, the Cubans swimming back-to-back here, so to speak. Here's the second of them, Luis Canabate. Australia with two representatives here. Sam Fricker, the 20-year-old. Japan also with two competitors here. The first of them will be Shu Okubo, his only event of the World Championships. So making the most of his opportunity. Zach Cooper, United States, the 24-year-old. One of two Americans making it through to the semi-final stage. And we've got two Canadians as well. The first of them here, Nathan Zomba Murray. Two from Great Britain as well, Noah Williams. And the second of the British divers will be competing right after Williams. This is Maddie Lee. Canadian. Yes, Ryland Weens here, the 20-year-old. So the second of the two Canadians, the second of the two Australians. Castile Rousseau. And we get up to the top 5 now. And we've got a 15-year-old here. This American, Josh Hedberg. Huge moment for this fellow. And he'll be followed by a 16-year-old who was a medalist last night. And that's the young Ukrainian star, Alexei Sareta. He came through as the number 3 seed here, this 15-year-old from Japan, Rakuto Tamai. And the two Chinese, seeds 1 and 2. Here's the number 2 seed, Yang Hao. And the man who scored best in the preliminary round is Yang Jian, the silver medalist from the Tokyo Olympic Games. So China with the top 2 qualifiers. Then it's the 15-year-old from Japan, then the 16-year-old from Ukraine, and the 15-year-old from the USA. So the top 5, 2 15-year-olds, a 16-year-old, and the 2 Chinese. Yes, we're talking about the existing champions, and as I mentioned, those who are coming through and are going to be stars over the next few years. The Fina Diving Commission members there. Semi-final officials with Eric Brooker, the referee. And we meet the judges as well. Yes, well, China has won the men's 10-metre platform world title a record 7 times. So it's not quite the domination that we've seen in some of the other events. It's still a pretty decent record. They've won 19 medals in this event at the World Championships. And that's the most by any country. The next is 9 for the USA. And at least 1 Chinese diver has finished on the podium in this event at each of the last 14 editions. So it goes back as far back as 1986 up until Guangzhou in 2019. And there's only 2 divers who won the world title in both the men's 10-metre platform synchro and the men's 10-metre platform in the same year. And Yang Hao has the chance, I should say, of doing just that. And he was the second highest qualifier through the preliminary final into this semi-final stage. So we may well see that today. We saw some excellent dives, excellent scores registered in the preliminary round, and we're not too far away from getting this competition underway. The start list for the men's 10-metre platform semi-final. 18 starters and many countries represented, with 2 divers, including Great Britain there, Australia, the United States, and here we have China, Yang Hao and Yang Jian. So this is a semi-final, remember, 18 divers, and later on here we'll have the final of the women's 3-metre springboard, and that comes up in around about 3 hours from now. That's 7 p.m. local time here in Hungary. So we're about to get things underway here. Brazil with Isaac Sousafilo. An inward 3.5 somersault tuck to commence proceedings. So he is on his way. He had a total score of 356.3 and making it into the top 18 just a few hours ago. And here he starts with a good score of 60.8. That was a 3.2. And Bartel here is going to have the same dive as the Brazilian. An inward 3.5 somersault tuck. He scored well with this dive in the preliminary rounds. And looks like it's going to be a touch better here. It's 68.8, sevens and a 7.5 from the judges there for Bartel. Now the Italian, Larson. Just up the degree of difficulty a touch here to 3.3, the forward 2.5 somersault with 2 twists. It was his lowest scoring dive in the preliminaries. Score here 59.4. Ramos Rodriguez, forward 3.5 somersault pike, ranked 15th going into this semi-final. Makes a nice start. He's going to get on the board with some good scores here. 66, 2 7.5s there. So Canabate made a really good start, this 18-year-old. He was 6th in the men's synchro 10 metres with Ramos. We just saw him dive. He's got an excellent return from the judges. Let's see if he can get 8s again. He may well do. Yes. So the back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, in he goes. Yes, he got 8s this morning from the judges and a total of 76.8. What did they think of this dive? The 18-year-old. He's had plenty of events throughout the competition. So 72 here. 8s this morning, 7.5s here. It's still a very, very good start. Fricker at 3.2. A back 2.5 somersault with 1.5 twists.
Samuel Fricker. Back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists.
He was 9th in the mixed team event, and he also competed in the 3-metre springboard. He didn't make it through to the semi-final stage there, so much better here off the platform. Yes, good start. Fricker, the 20-year-old. A really good start for him. 72 with the 7.5s from the judges. Every reason to be satisfied. Kubo, this 25-year-old from Japan, making it through in 12th placing. The first of the arm stands we've seen in the competition today. 3.2 degree of difficulty. We saw the twitching of the toes. I don't know if he's nervous up there on the arm stand, but plenty of us would be. He got himself steady and he executed very nicely. 73.6, a very, very good start. Now the first of the Americans in this semi-final, Zach Cooper. And this is at 3.6, so the most difficult dive we have seen so far. Arm stand back, double somersault, 2.5 twists. Well, he waited an awfully long time up there. He got himself steady and he just waited until he was ready. And the entry was a little splashy, but still a score here, 70.2 with that big multiplying factor of 3.6. So Nathan Zomba Murray, the Canadian here, the 19-year-old bronze medalist in the men's synchronised 10-metre platform with Rylan Weens, who we'll see shortly. Starting with an inward 3.5 somersault tuck. He scored well in the preliminary round, and the coaches are very happy with the way he started here in the semi-final. Really nice dive there. Lovely and straight as he entered the water. 76.8. So that is the best of the scores we've seen so far. Noah Williams from Great Britain. Once again at 3.6, this back 2.5 somersault, 2.5 twists in the pike position. Well, he's a big improver. He competed at the Tokyo Olympics and was in 27th place there. That was just 12 months ago, and here he's qualified in the top 10, and he starts with an excellent score, 75.6. His teammate here, Lee. Together, Williams and Lee combined for the silver medal in the men's synchronised 10-metre platform. Well, it's the same dive as Noah Williams had just a moment ago. Williams scored well, and I think Lee is going to score at least that and maybe even more That is a very nice dive at 3.6 degree of difficulty. He comes up with 86.4. H there for Matty Lee. What a start. So Rylan Weems back to 3.2 here. He's got some bigger dives to come. Inward 3.5 somersault tuck. Well, we're seeing them all execute as planned so far. Well, the scores have been very good. 76.8 here for Weems, and that was only at 3.2, so some excellent returns from the judges. Castile Rousseau now. Once again, 3.2, an inward dive, 3.5 somersault tuck. He's a good prospect for Australia, this 21-year-old. He was a finalist in Tokyo. He finished in 8th placing, and he was also a finalist in this event at the last World Championships in Gwangju as a teenager. 73.6, 7.5s and 8s safely away. So now this team of youngsters, the 15-year-old to be followed by a 16-year-old, to be followed by a 15-year-old again. Josh Hedberg of the USA. Very clean. He's 15. He's got a lot of growing to do. He's a short fellow as well, but very compact, and he goes through those somersaults beautifully. He gets scores here of 7.5, 67.5 overall. 16 years of age. Soretta, European champion in 2019 at just 13 years of age, the youngest ever. Been hoping that entry was not quite as splashy there, but still he gets a score of 67.5 with 7.5s there. Now another 15-year-old here, Makoto Tamei, representing Japan at 3.2, an inward 3.5 somersault tuck. As I mentioned, we're going to be hearing a lot about this fellow and Soretta before him, Hedberg before Soretta. They are babes in the woods, but how good are they? Look at this, 76.8. H there from the judges. And now the first of the two Chinese top qualifiers here, Yang Hao. He's going to start with a back 2.5 somersault, 1.5 twists at 3.2. This was his top score this morning, even when the degrees of difficulty increased. Oh. Yes, he just lands it in the water. He's going to score really nicely as well. The judges gave him this morning 8.5s for this dive. He ended up with 81.6, and as I mentioned, even though he gradually increased his degree of difficulty, that was the highest score. Not quite there this time, 76.8. The eights on this occasion for Yang Hao. And Yang Jian, 28-year-old, he's our defending champion. 3.4 degree of difficulty for his first round dive. Oof. He was let down with his third round dive this morning at 3.8, where he scored 62. Other than that, though, he was right up there, the scores with all of his dives. Just fell away a touch there on entry. 8.5s, though, from the judges. It was at 3.4, so a total there, 86.7. The men's 10-metre platform. Standings after round one. That's Yang Jian over Matty Lee. Zomba Murray in third placing, followed by Weems. Remembering the top 12 go through, so that is what we'll be keeping our eye on here. And other than that, it's a matter of seedings for the final. Top 12 go through, 6 miss out, and then we find the order depending upon the positions in the top 12 for the final. Second round now. Now Isaac here at 3.3, a back 3.5 somersault tuck. He made the semi-final of this event at the last World Championships. Just missed out on the final. At 13, not at age 13, at 13th placing. Here he gets a good score, 69.3. So he would love to go one better than that 13th placing 3 years ago. Bartel, early round score of 68.8. We'll have the arm stand here, a back double somersault, 1.5 twists. Yes, his entry will let him down a touch, and that expression tells the story. Through he goes into that free position, and plenty of water coming up there for Timo, and that is 48 with the 5s, counting for the judges. Larson back in 18th spot after his opening round 59.4. He's got an inward 3.5 somersault tuck here. And that is a much better dive. He was the World Junior Champion back in 2014, 8 years ago, as a 15-year-old. And this is a much improved dive than his first round effort there, 67.2 with 7s from the judges. Ramos Rodriguez, 16th after the first round. He's 6th in the men's synchronised 10-metre and 6th in the mixed synchronised 10-metre event. didn't quite get it vertical on entry there. He took a lot of time. So much goes through the mind off the 10-metre platform. You've got to be ready for it. 46.2. Two-round total of 112.2 there for Lewis Kanabate. Correction, that was Rodriguez. This is his teammate here, Kanabate, I should say. That was a nice dive there by Lewis Kanabate. Yes, his teammate, his synchronised 10-metre partner was Rodriguez just before him. And Kanabate scores a nice score here, 66.3, 138.3. Fricka, 10th after the first round. See him with 3.5 somersaults here in that pike position. He comes out pretty straight, but brings some water up, quite a bit of splash there. So 2 7s and a 7.5. So this is a forward 4.5 somersault tuck at 3.7. Important dive here. It's maybe just a little late on that as we have a look at him. Well, he was quite vertical, but a lot of water coming up there on entry. 46.25. 4s and a 4.5 there for a Kubo. Zach Cooper. The 12 alongside his name. So he would like a couple of really good dives over the next couple of rounds to shoot up the standings and get away from the danger zone. Very nice dive. It was at 3.2, so that is the multiplying factor, which means it's not going to equate to a huge score, but it was nice in execution there. 2 7s and a 6.5, 65.6. Now, in third place, there were a few of them equal third there. And among them was this 19-year-old Canadian, Nathan Zomba Murray. Again, a big dive, 3.7 degree of difficulty. Oh, yes. Lovely dive that by the Canadian. Whew. Watch him. He's got 4.5 somersaults ahead of him. And that was a delightful, clean entry. What a good dive. A score here, 96.2, a 9 there, 2 8.5s. Excellent work. Noah Williams now. 7th after round 1 with a score 75.6. This at 3.2, an inward 3.5 somersault tuck. And another very nice entry there. A medalist here at the World Championships. A silver medal in the men's synchronised 10-metre platform. 7.5 and 2/8 there at 75.2. His teammate Lee. Matt Lee. 3.3. Arm stand. Back 3.5 somersault tuck. So it's a 3.3 degree of difficulty. As we watch it again, he goes through the 3 somersaults out and not quite straight there. 74.25. He's second overall at the moment, behind Nathan Zomba Murray. Weens, one of that group of divers, tied for 3rd after round 1. Another high-scoring dive here at 3.7. A lot of water there, and the slow motion replay accentuates that. 66.6 with 6s. Rousseau now. First round score of 73.6. This is an arm stand, back 3 somersaults pike at 3.3. Very, very nice there. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny splash that comes up. You can't deny all the water, and that was really nice. 8s. Boys, 79.2. Excellent dive by Rousseau. Hedberg. First round of 67.5. He's up the ante here at 3.6. Another arm stand. Back, double somersault, 2.5 twists. He's got a promising future. 15 years of age, he won 3 medals at the Junior Pan American Games. He scored really well for this throughout the preliminary round. He scores well again, 79.2, 7.5s and a 7. To Alexi, 3.2. back in 14th place with a score of 67.5 after round one. And that is more like it. 3.2 degree of difficulty. He just missed the medals at the last World Championships. He was 4th in this event. He was 6th at the Olympics. Gets a score here of 72. 7.5s. That will lift him up the rankings. Now, Tomei of Japan. Just 15 years of age, already an Olympian in his home country, finishing in 7th placing. And going along nicely here, 70.2, the 6.5s from the judges. Yep, what an experience. Now, Yang Hao, silver medalist at the last World Championships. This at 3.5, an arm stand, back 3 somersaults. His best dives in the preliminary round were the first 2, both at 3.2 degree of difficulty. They were both his highest scorings. He's got 3.5, 3.4, 3.6 and 3.7 to come. And look at this score, 9s, a 94.5. Well, if he can take that form into his highest scoring dives, he'll be setting himself up for a big total. Our leader, Yang Xian. Inward 3.5 somersault tuck. Well, he scored 86.7 with his first. Coaches happy with his second. Just a suggestion of over-rotation there. 8s and an 8.5 there, 78.4. Drops back into 3rd place. So it's after 2 rounds of the men's 10-metre platform. The Canadian out in front there, 173. Nathan Zomba Murray, Yang Hao and Yang. Taking plenty of time. This was his highest scoring dive in the preliminaries at 3.6 degree of difficulty. Yes, he earned scores of 7 from the judges this morning. That 3.6 degree of difficulty taking the score out to 75 and a touch. This time not quite there, but still very, very good score of 70.2. Bartel currently 17th. This is hasn't been able to reproduce the form of the preliminaries so far. This was 3.0. 61.5. And he's not going to need to get some bigger points on the board if he's to make the top 12. Larson at 3.3. Back 3.5 somersault tuck for his third round dive. Oh dear. That would have hurt the body and hurt the score as well. Unfortunate for Andres Larson. Two 4s and a 3.5. So now Ramos Rodriguez. 2-round total of 112.2. This at 3.2, an inward 3.5 somersault tuck. And lovely and clean as he hit the water there. That at 3.2. As we see him go through the somersaults, straighten up. And it's going to be a good scoring dive here. 75.2, 2 8s and a 7.5. Good effort. Still with Cuba. His teammate here, Kanabate. Now 11th after 2 rounds. This at 3.2. Very nice. Got himself out of the tuck position and ready for entry in plenty of time.
6.5, 6, 7, 5.5, 6.5, 6.
Takes his total up just under the 200 metre, the 200 point mark. Now Fricka at 3.4, holding down 12th at the moment. So this is his highest scoring dive on the program. Straightens up nicely. Trying to stay around that position and certainly away from anything lower than that to try to make it through to the final here. Nice dive. 73.1, 2 7s and a 7.5. Kubo back in 16th now. He was pretty consistent through the preliminaries. He didn't have a particularly a particular dive that let him down, nor did he have one that jumped out and took his total up the standings. This at 64, 6.5s and 7s, and he got lots of scores around that mark this morning. Now Cooper, 135.8, just outside of the top 12 after 2 rounds, a reverse 3.5 somersault tuck. Over-rotated, the legs falling away. That'll cost him. This at 3.4. He was 8th in the men's synchronised 10-metre platform. Now desperately trying to make the top 12 here, but this won't help. 44.2. Now here's our leader here. Nathan is on board. Murray, 3.3. The Canadian taking it right up to the Chinese at this stage. Not quite as good with his 3rd round dive. Just couldn't quite straighten it up. He was a touch early with it. 59.4. 6s there. Williams in the top 6 at the moment. And this at 3.6. Back 3.5 somersault pike. Again, just a little short on entry there for the 22-year-old from Great Britain. He made the final at the last World Championships. He finished 10th and certainly looking to make the final here. 66.6 here with 2 6s and a 6.5 for Williams. Lee. 3.2 degree of difficulty. Currently 4th. Well, that will help things because he didn't score especially well with his dive this morning. He saved his big dives for the last 2 rounds, his big scoring dives in the 80s there. And this is better than his dive this morning in round 3. 67.2. Currently 9th. There's Rylan Weens. Oh, that's a really, really nice entry as far as Weens is concerned. Yes, the silver medalist with Zomba Murray in the synchronised 10-metre platform event. So the Canadians have brought some really good form here. That's a good score, 76.5.
Castile Rousseau.
Rousseau in the top 5 after the first 2 rounds. This at 3.4. He's going along very nicely. As we have another look at this. 62.9. Still 5th, but some of the big names still to complete round 3. Hedberg went from 14th up to 8th with his second round dive. This is a back 3.5 somersault tuck at 3.3. So 3.3 degree of difficulty. Couldn't quite get to the vertical position here, and that will cost him points. Looking to continue to push his way up the rankings, 49.5. So Sereda of Ukraine, also around that danger area, position 10. This at 3.6, arm stand. Back double somersault, 2.5 twists. Oh, well, he got this absolutely spot on in the preliminaries. It was a really good score, and he's going to score beautifully here as well. It's even better than it was this morning. Oh, yes. 8.5 9s, 95.4. An excellent dive. Tamai of Japan. Oh, it was a big scoring dive, 3.7. Forward, 4.5 somersaults as he goes through them and straightens up. Score here 79.55. 2 7s and a 7.5. The scores that count. Young Hao currently second as we get towards the halfway point of this semi-final. 3.5 degree of difficulty. These fellows won 3 World Championship gold medals here in the men's 10-metre synchro, Budapest in the men's 10-metre synchro, and also in the 3-metre mixed synchro at Kazan back in 2015. 7.5s and a good score there from the judges. He's our leader at the moment, but here is Yang now. Yang dropped down to 3rd place after his second dive. This at 3.8. So it's the highest scoring dive we've seen so far. Forward 2.5 somersault with 3 twists. I'm sure he's performed that a little better on many, many occasions. He actually struggled with this dive in the preliminary round. By his lofty standards, he got 5.5 from the judges then. Well, he's done better here with 7s, 79.8, and he'll jump up into second place. The men's 10-metre platform standings after round 3, Yang Ho and Yang Jian, 1 and 2, and third at the moment at Sareta of Ukraine. And that interesting area, position 12 at 199.1, position 13, 196.2, Kanabata and Hedberg. And Sousa in position 11 is not far in advance of those scores. So the judges, panel B. As we get to the halfway mark now. Yang Hao, Yang Jian, Sareta, Zomba Murray, Lee, Tamai, Weens, Williams, Rousseau, Fricker, Sousa and Kanabate currently holding down the top 12 spots. Well, he struggled with this dive this morning. This was at 3.4, his lowest scoring dive in the preliminary round. 11th coming into this dive, and that won't help his cause one iota, unfortunately. The score here, 42.5. 4s and 4.5s. So he was 11th. He's almost certain to slide out of the top 12 after that. Bartel, 3.6, with a lot of work to do to jump up from position 17. A 3.6, back 3.5 somersault pike. He also struggled with this dive this morning. As he was awarded 4s and a 4.5 this morning. And that's what cost him. He was able to respond with his final 2 dives, 48.6 here, so it's much the same result. 3.3 degree of difficulty. This arm stand back, 3.5 somersaults for Andres Larson. Well, he never really took total control of that dive on the arm stand, and he was in trouble right after that. He never recovered, and that's a disappointing result in round 4, 28.05. Ramos Rodriguez in 14th place in 3.4 degree of difficulty here. He takes such a long time thinking about his dives, and this time it doesn't pay dividends. just well short. And scores there 39.1. 3.5 and 4s. Let's see what his Cuban teammate can do here. Currently 12th. Canabate. So 12th, a few points behind the 12th placed Fricka prior to this, 57.35. Won't help him all that much. Now Fricka, 3.3 degree of difficulty here. Back 3.5 somersault tuck. That's nice. He was 10 points clear of Canabate after round 3, the halfway points. We have another look. Doesn't quite get to the vertical, but that's a good score there. It was a nice clean entry, 7.5 for a 74.25. So that will solidify his position. Kubo. Kubo, with that total of 183 in 15th placing, was 16 points off 12th going into this 4th round. And that will probably help him. 3.3 degree of difficulty for that back 3.5 somersault tuck. 25-year-old from Japan, and his only event here, 66. So probably his best dive so far. Cooper in 8th place. In fact, in 16th, correction. He's in 16th place there. And he wants to get up to 8th, but he'll need some good dives to come here. It was a high-scoring dive, 3.7. The forward. 4.5 somersaults, comes out not all that straight, but that multiplying factor will help him to this score of 77.7. Now, Zomba Murray was our leader after round 2. He slipped back with his 3rd round dive. This at 3.2, an arm stand. Back double somersault with 1.5 twists. He had a brilliant 2nd round, disappointed with his 3rd round dive, and that's where he slipped down from 1st to 4th. He's not going to improve in that standing at the moment. Well, temporarily, but that number one won't last all that long. Noah Williams now. .6 arm stand, back double somersault, 2.5 twists. He was able to execute it well in the preliminary rounds. And he got it steady, took his time to steady himself in the arm stand position. Then through he goes. 2.5 twists. So 75.6 there. His teammate Lee to follow. Firmly ensconced in the top 10 at the halfway point, this at 3.6. Well, ensconced in the top group I mentioned. He's going to slide down a couple of positions here from his previous 5th ranking, just far too early there. So 59.4, 5.5. Weens of Canada. It was around about this point in the preliminary round he started clawing his way up the standings. Had 3 very good dives to finish off. Here at 3.6. Yep, good dive there from the Canadian Weens. Already a medalist here, and he just might be by the time this event's over as well. 7.5, so that's a good score. Rousseau in 9th placing. Back 2.5 somersault, 2.5 twists. He's got Olympic blood in his body. His grandfather, Michel Rousseau, was a gold medalist in cycling for France back in 1956 at the Olympics, and Castile represented Australia in diving last year, 64.8. So he finds himself at the moment in 6th placing. Weens is our competition leader. Hedberg now with his 4th dive, 3.4, reverse 3.5 somersault tuck. He was in 13th placing. This at 3.4. It'll keep him in that sort of range. 64.6. So he's got 2 more dives to come. He did struggle with his 5th round this morning, but he had a very good last dive. Now Soretta, currently 3rd. Back 3.5 somersault tuck. 3.3. Oh, lovely entry there. Is confident after securing a medal in the mixed synchro 10-metre platform, a silver medal then. And he is going along very nicely here. 7.5s and an 8, 75.9. Looking really good, as if he's going to contend for the medals come final time. Tamai. This youngster from Japan. 3.6 degree of difficulty here. Firmly entrenched in the top 6. And he's going to get some good scores here for that dive as well. 7s from the judges, 75.6 for Tamai. Currently 2nd. 2 Chinese divers to come. Yang Hao. Reverse 3.5 somersault tuck at 3.4. He's our competition leader here, leading by 8 points over his teammate. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Barely a cupful of water coming up there as he entered. That's a lovely, lovely dive. It's going to get some good scores. Entry was spot on here. 9.5s from the judges, 96.9. What a dive. Now, Yang Jian, 3.5 degree of difficulty here. Arm stand, back 3 somersaults. This is a slightly higher scoring dive if he can nail it. And nail it he does. What sort of score will he get? The defending champion here, the silver medalist from Tokyo. And this is a race between this man, Yang Jian, and Yang Hao as to who's going to qualify highest going into the final. He gets here 8 and 8.5s, 87.5. That completes round 4. Men's 10-metre platform, semi-final standings after round 4. Yang Hao and Yang Jian, it's a margin there of some 16 points. Soretta in 3rd, Tamai in 4th placing. So currently 12th, it's Cooper of the United States. He is 3 points behind Hedberg, who's 11th, long way behind Rousseau. And he's only a point in front of Kanabare. So at the moment, it's between the American and the Cuban, but still 2 rounds remaining. A lot can change. 3.7 here for Isaac Sousafilo. Holding down 15th place after 4 rounds. 3.7 degree of difficulty, those 4.5 somersaults. 6s from the judges, and 66.6 is the overall total. Now, Timo Bartel qualified 17th, and he comes into this 5th round in 16th place, so not a lot has changed there. A reverse 3.5 somersault tuck. That is a very good dive. You get the feeling Bartel prefers the springboard than the platform. But this is an excellent effort. He was 17th in Tokyo, 21st in Gwangju. And here he puts in a very good dive. 8.5 and 8s there. Larson, currently 18th. After missing his previous dive. Score of 28 then. Just hope he can recover. 3.4 degree of difficulty. And recover he does. Much better. The Italian. Getting his mind back in gear. And some good scores coming his way here. 6 and 6.5, 64.6. That'll make him feel much better. Ramos Rodriguez, 17th. After 4 rounds, this at 3.2. He's had pretty good time here at the World Championships, a couple of 6th placings in finals. Didn't quite hold it as he would have liked when he entered the water. Double somersault, 1.5 twists, and the legs just starting to fall back. That scores here of 6.5s and 7, 64 total there. Kanabate. Now Kanabate in 13th placing after round 4. Just a fraction of a point behind Cooper of the United States. This is 3.3. Very straight on entry. Feet kicking the water up just a little there. 3.3 degree of difficulty here. The 5s have it, 49.5. So I'm sure Cooper would have seen that and noted it. That won't help the cause of the Cuban. Fricker. 9th after 4 rounds. This is an arm stand. Back double somersault, 1.5 twist, 3.2. Well, he ends up with quite a nice entry. Seemed a little unsteady with that arm stand, but 62.4, 6.5 and 7 there. Kubo, 14th. So where was he after 4 rounds? 249, and Cooper was 257. So he's got 8 points to make up to be on level terms with the American, but the American yet to go, of course. 3.2 degree of difficulty for that back 2.5 somersault and 1.5 twists for the 25-year-old Japanese diver here. 6s, 57.6. Now, I mentioned Cooper. This is where the battle is at the moment, around that 12th spot. Cooper, 3.3. His Japanese rival has just scored 57. So Cooper looking to consolidate here, 3.3. The legs just flipping over, some over-rotation there. That will have been noted. So just when he was looking for a really big scoring dive, he's unable to produce that. And that's a score of roughly the same as the Kubo just before him. So not a lot changes around that position 12 for the moment anyway. Zomba Murray, 3.4. Our leader after 2 rounds, now 7th. He was the surprise leader earlier in this competition. He didn't have any exceptional scores throughout the preliminary round. He didn't have any misses either. So 59.5 here. 5.5 and 6s. Williams in 10th place. After the previous round, round 4. He's been diving well. And this is another very satisfactory effort as far as Noah Williams is concerned. 6s and 61.2. Now, Matty Lee, 3.4 degree of difficulty here with his second last dive. 8th after 4 rounds. Reverse 3.5 somersault tuck. He was spot on with this dive in the preliminaries. 8s from the judges then. It looks like it's going to be round about the same sort of mark with that execution, 81.6. So he jumps to the top of the list at the moment, but still 7 divers to complete round 5, including Rylan Weems, who was 5th after round 4. This at 3.3, a back 3.5 somersault tuck. That's the problem, the over-rotation on entry. It's going to drop back a spot or 2 after that dive. 44.55. And 4.5s have it. Still, the important thing is top 12. And then you clean the slate and live to fight another day. Now, Rousseau. 10th placing after the previous round. Back 3.5 somersault pike at 3.6, an important dive here. Yes, that will score well. Rousseau, he got better as the competition went on throughout the preliminaries. And this is the best dive he's put in today. A score of 81 with 7.5s from the judges. Excellent result. He's 2nd overall, but still we have another 5 divers to complete round 5. Hedberg, the next of them. So in 14th, in fact 11th place he was. 11th place after round 4. Very good dive there from the young American, the 15-year-old. Yes, he was 3 points clear of Cooper, his teammate there, who was 12th after the previous round, and around 4 points clear of Kanabate. So looking to stay out of trouble here, 57.6. Now, Sereda, 3rd at the moment. This at 3.4, reverse 3.5 somersault tuck. Just didn't quite hold it vertical on entry there as he goes through these 3.5 somersaults. He's going to remain towards the top of the tree at 6.5s and 7s. Tamai of Japan. Fourth after 4 rounds. .4 degree of difficulty. Very, very nice. Yes, after the previous round, He was behind Yang Hao and Yang Jian Soretta, and he was in 4th place. 8 points behind the diver from Ukraine and 2 points ahead of Wiens. Here he gets a very good score, 81.6. 8 from the judges for the 15-year-old. Yang Hao with a 16-point lead over Yang Jian going into his second last dive here. 3.6 degree of difficulty. Back 3.5 somersault pike. He's going to stay towards the top there. He'll need to, mind you, because Yang Jian had some excellent dives in rounds 5 and 6, and gee, the differential there was significant between the two Chinese rivals. 82.8, 7.5s and 8. Now it's up to Yang Jian. 3.6 degree of difficulty here. Well, not quite. Not quite. The legs were at 45 degrees on entry there. He scored 8 and 8.5 this morning. A total of 88, but it's not going to be at that level here. 79.2. It was a high scoring dive, 3.6, but he just doesn't quite replicate what he did this morning. The men's 10-metre platform, standings after round 5. And it's the two Chinese divers out in front. A 20-point differential there between first and second. Tamai of Japan, Soretta, and then Lee. Position 12, Cooper. Position 13, Bartel. 5 points the difference between Cooper and Bartel. Is there anyone else who could jump into the top 12? Well, Sousa is 6 points behind Cooper. Kubo is about 8 points behind. We're about to see the final round here. In 14th placing, Sousa. 3.6 degree of difficulty here for this back 2.5 somersault with 2.5 twists. It was his best dive this morning. Not quite there at the finish. You can see the little grimace there. It was good until the last moment. And then the legs fell away. 55.8 with 5s and a 5.5. And that is the competition complete there for Isaac Sousa Filho of Brazil. Timo Bartel with that 5th round. He's put himself back in contention here. He trails Zach Cooper by 5 points. This at 3.2. This won't be particularly high scoring there. Cooper also finishing with a 3.2. In fact, it's an identical dive he'll be finishing with. But Bartel had that opportunity of jumping up and challenging for the top 12. It's doubtful he'll be able to do that with 56 in his final round.
Larson, Italy. Forward for the half swing time.
Now Larson back in 18th place. He was spinning his way through those somersaults at the rate of knots, but he ended up just a little late on that one. 38.85, 296.05. Andres Larson completing his semi-final. Ramos Rodriguez, 17th. Well, he took a long time, and this time it does pay dividends. He always takes such a long time concentrating on his dives, and this was a very good one. He gets sevens and 7.5s. The total there, 359.3. He was around 20 points in arrears of 12th place, though, so that's just about it. Kanabate now. 16th, arm stand, back double somersault with 1.5 twists, 3.2. Falling away at the end of the dive there, so bad luck as far as Lewis is concerned. He was in the top echelon, but a score here 48. 48, so and he's just booked a spot in the final. The Q goes alongside his name. He's in with a score 72. He can start thinking about what's to come in 24 hours' time. Shu Akubo now. Reverse 3.5 somersault tuck. And straight on entry as well for Akubo. 3.4 degree of difficulty for his final dive. He came in ranked 15th. So not quite replicating the scores he was able to achieve this morning. 66.3 here with 6.5s. Now Cooper, 12th, right in that cut-off zone. 3.2 degree of difficulty here, back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. It's an okay finish, but it certainly had a few elements he would have hoped to have tidied up there. It's okay though. Let's have a look at this score. 57.6 sixes there for Cooper. Zomba Murray now with his final dive at 3.2, back 2.5 somersault, 1.5 twists. Oh, lovely. Absolutely beautiful entry. 3.2 degree of difficulty. The back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists, and a lovely, lovely clean entry into the water. And that will ensure his qualification through to the final. 73.6, 7.5s and 8. So I can confirm that Zomba Murray's in the final, Fricker is in, and Akubo is in. A nervous wait for Cooper at the moment. Noah Williams, 7th place after round 5. This is 3.7. Very nice. Williams will book his spot as well. .7 degree of difficulty. And no worries whatsoever. The judge is happy with that. 6.5 and 7, 75.85, and Williams is through to the final as well. So 4 of them are assured. Lee should be okay as well here. Currently in 5th placing, barring a catastrophe, a 3.7 degree of difficulty dive. It's all good for Matty Lee as well. So Great Britain will have 2 in the final tomorrow night. Lee with this 3.7, it's going to score nicely. In he goes. A high-scoring dive, and he gets high scores as well. 7, 7.5, 79.55. Rylan Weens, 3.6 degree of difficulty there. This back 2.5 somersault, 2.5 twists. He was 10th after round 5. He was excellent with this dive earlier today. He'll like to execute that slightly better in the final, but he will be in the final. There is no doubt about that. Just the legs giving way at the last moment there, but he is okay to dive for the medal. 73.8. Now, it is Castile Rousseau of Australia. 3.7 degree of difficulty. 6th after round 5. A forward 4.5 somersault tuck. Very nice. Very nice indeed. So he's had a really good competition here, Rousseau. 7th in the men's synchro 10-metre platform, 8th in Tokyo, 9th in Gwangju. And what a good dive this is to finish, 81.4. 7 and a halves and a 7 there from the judges. Rousseau becomes the 7th to book their spot in the final. Hedberg now. Wouldn't want to slip up here. He was 11th after round 5. This at 3.6. And he'll be pretty happy with the way that went. Also, that should be enough as far as he's concerned. 3.6 degree of difficulty, this promising youngster from the United States, 15-year-old. And he gets a score here of 70.2, and he is in a World Championship final as well. Soretta. Fourth after round 5, finishing with a back 2.5 somersault, 1.5 twists. Yep. He was a high scorer with this dive in the preliminary round. The judges loved it. 8.5s this morning. Probably around that mark here as well. 2 8.5s and an 8. A score there of 80. And it's going to be interesting to see what this fellow from Ukraine can produce in the final. So too this 15-year-old from Japan. Rakuto Tamai. Third going into this final round. 3.6 degree of difficulty. Beautiful, lovely dive by the precocious youngster. A 14-year-old Olympian 12 months ago. Now here he is at the World Championship strutting his stuff, and how beautifully he's doing that. 8 and an 8.5, 88.2. He becomes the 10th diver into the final. Young Hao, our competition leader here, leading it by 20 points over his teammate. 3.7 degree of difficulty with his final dive. And he's going to finish with a good score here as well. The multiplying factor 3.7 is going to give him a really good result. And he will be full of confidence going into the final. 8 from the judges, 88.8. And he looms as the gold medal favourite here. So one dive remaining in this semi-final. Yang Jian, our defending champion. 4.1 degree of difficulty, the biggest dive we've seen in the competition. Forward 4.5 somersault pike. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's have another look at this. Forward 4.5 somersault pike. Maybe just a teeny bit early on entry, but with that 4.1 factor, it equates to a score 92.25. So he finishes second and will advance to the final. It's going to be a really good final between this pair and the pursuers as well. That final coming your way here at the Doona Arena in 24 hours from now. The men's 10-metre platform final. A really good competition. The two Chinese showing their expertise, and they are going to be hard to stop here. Some exceptional youngsters from Japan and Ukraine. The semi-final result in the men's 10-metre platform: China first and second, Japan third, Ukraine fourth. The 12th position in the final going to Shua Kubo of Japan, and Zach Cooper of the United States is the first reserve. So 18 is reduced to 12. Yang Hao, Yang Jian, Tamai, Sereta, Lee, Rousseau, Williams, Zombora Murray, Weens, Fricker, Hedberg and Okubo. They are the 12 to go through. And the margin between 12th and 13th, Okubo and Cooper, 0.7. 7/10 of a point. So Cooper misses out. Bartel, the second reserve. It's been a good competition. And we look forward to what's ahead with the final of this event in 24 hours. That will be the last of the events on the diving program here at the 19th Fina World Championships. Should be a good crowd on hand. Two finals coming up tomorrow night. And there's another event, a final coming your way this evening here at the Doona Arena. Make history, that's what they've been doing. Through the preliminaries this morning, we started with 39. So 21 were eliminated, making it through to the semi-final stage. Australia will be represented with two divers in the final, Fricker and also Rousseau. China naturally represented with two divers. The first and second seeds there, Yang Hao and Yang Jian. Looking forward to seeing the 15-year-old in a World Championship final. It's Tamai of Japan, Sereta, the 16-year-old of Ukraine. And Great Britain represented through Lee and also Williams. An excellent final ahead of us. And what will Nathan Zombora Murray do? He'll be diving just after his Canadian teammate there and Ryan Weens. So Canada represented with two divers in the final. Japan have a second through Shu Okubo. So much to look forward to in that final coming up. Before that, though, we have more action today. The women's 3-metre springboard final. And that should be very exciting indeed. That will be in just over an hour from now. And will China win another gold medal? Well, it'll be a brave person to say they won't. They've won 10 from 10 so far, and they have the top two seeds going into the final of the women's 3-metre springboard. That final next to go here at the Doona Arena at the 19th Fina World Championships here in Budapest, Hungary. Hope you've enjoyed it. We look forward to your company there.